Hi, Becca Syme.
Hello, Bradley.
Once again, I hit record too late because we
We
have.
always give all the good stuff
I
right before
know.
we,
Okay, we do, but we're going to come back to it. We're going to
we're
get
gonna
back to
come
it.
back to all of it.
I swear you're not like reading my mind or checking my notes because the stuff you just mentioned, like what, or as they like to say, wait, what, wait, what?
Yeah,
Okay, Becca, it's the end of the year. We're having another chat. I'm so excited. I know we're going to talk about energy today, and you and I said how we wanted to talk more because this gives me and you, and hopefully our listeners and viewers, more energy.
yeah.
And we didn't have to prep for this call or plan or make notes, but we will even create energy by having this conversation, and then ideally have even more at the end of it than when we started.
I think so.
So, how are you doing, Becca? End of the year.
Yeah, I mean, end of the year, I'm not typically a person who does a big like end of the year and beginning of the year thing because I feel like it's a little bit of a lot of pressure to kind of
Yeah.
have like all of these things that you're going to work on. And so I tend to just sort of quietly move from the end of December to the beginning of January. And for some reason this year, it feels like I need to mark the calendar, almost like
Okay.
2025 was not great. And an
Yeah.
awful lot of 2025 was very hard, right? And not just for me, I think for a lot of us,
Yeah.
but for me specifically. And so when I hit the end of the year this year, I was like, you know what? This is what rituals are for. Like rituals are there to remind us to do the things we need to do. And so the ritual of kind of cleansing from the last year and starting fresh in the new year is something that I really need this year. And so I need to kind of shed off kind of like I use the
Hey.
metaphor a lot of um from the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the C.S. Lewis book, where it's like, finally let the lion pull the dragon skin off of me instead of trying to do it
Oh,
myself and just shed off all of this stuff and try to emerge from that space, you know, wet and new and craving something different from what I've had before. And that's very much where I think my end of year space is like I really just want to let life pull all the dead skin off and then emerge into 26 with a new vision for what life could be like there. Yeah.
wow. You just said something that is so, it's one of those, it's it's simple but not easy.
Yeah.
The shedding of the skin, because I that's interesting you say that because I think more add on, build on. Oh, we're making a building or growing a tree, and we're just going to add more branches and deeper the roots, the higher the branches. Like, but it's still a big giant tree. Whereas you're saying, let's, okay, I'm sticking with the tree thing.
Yeah.
Let's let some branches, that branch
Sometimes we
is,
got to prune the branches,
yeah.
Like, and it's so funny. I'm sitting right next to a fig tree. Like, there's literally a fig tree next to me. And if you've
Yeah.
ever grown a fig tree before, like you'll see my Christmas as well, but like it's right beside me, right?
Oh,
So it's giant.
right.
But if you've
Wow.
ever grown a fig tree before, they kind of grow in this very crazy way. Like the one branch just starts way off and and it
Yeah.
doesn't grow in a very uniform kind of beautiful way. It grows in very wild kind of space. And you in order to keep the tree healthy, have to prune the tree off quite a bit
Yeah.
in order to keep it kind of growing into fullness so that it keeps a lot of
Yeah.
balance and so
Yeah.
it keeps going up and out instead of just like if I just let this one arm that's headed in my direction keep growing, it will eventually throw the tree off balance and and it'll kill the tree, right? So like I think of life so often as something like organic and alive and I use this fig tree a lot of like I have to prune off this whole branch because you
Yeah.
can't just cut the branch like you have to pull off the whole branch when you let it get that far. And so it's like it's all it feels like a metaphor for me. Like I feel like I have let it get out of control and it has become too much and I need to shed some things and prune the tree in a manner of speaking, so that it can grow better. Because if I don't manage it sometimes, I can't just have whatever I want all the time, right? I have got to be willing to make hard decisions and let things go in order to emerge new. Yeah.
Okay, I have a serious gardening question for you here.
Yes.
And it's very related to us
Yeah.
as humans. So I'm not kidding, I have this real question. You got your tree, and
Yeah.
when you say prune,
Yeah.
do you then, and so there's this branch going way off and it's gonna
Mhm.
wreak havoc. Do you do you cut that branch at the base, like at the trunk?
It depends on what the plant is. Like every plant kind of needs different care, right? So, like with
Okay.
some plants, when you prune specific parts so that they will continue to grow from that place in a different direction, right? It's almost like it's
Oh,
growing
this is
this
so
way, and
good.
then
This is
like
so
you
good.
prune at the joint almost, right? And then it grows differently. But some things you
Ah,
kind of need to prune where the plant will grow best, which means that you need to know the plant. This is all a very specific metaphor for
I
us as
love it though.
humans, you know
Is
what
this
I mean?
perfect or what?
Like you can't just apply that kind of like one size fits all logic to organic things. They are all very different. And even on a certain level, I had to get to know this specific tree to know how it functions. And it does have this one side that just grows all the time. And I'm constantly having to prune off this one particular side of the tree that's different
Wow.
from other trees that are like it. So it really depends on the tree, and you kind of have to. Claire Taylor, actually, who we both know,
Yeah.
has told me when I was first really getting into this stuff. She's like, you need to get to know a plant like you would get to know a person, and that was sort of like a revelation for me about the way that I do alignment with individual people is very much like we don't make assumptions about who you are. We always use personality as a guide point, but you may, like Bradley, you're a number one activator in the Clifton Strengths, right? You may act exactly like all of the other activators I've ever coached in 10 ways, but in two of them, you're very different. So,
Yeah.
like, I can't make those assumptions about. Here's just a for instance, with some activators, in order to be the most productive they can be, they need to get up and move around first thing in the morning when they get out of bed so that they
Mm.
can kind of exercise off some of their activatory energy, right?
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
best thing for activator writers who trend this way is to kind of jump out of bed a little bit and make themselves walk around or walk around the block or jump on the treadmill quick, and then it makes their brains function better for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas,
Wow.
like, if you're an intellection writer, that much activity early in the morning might tire you out and make your brain more difficult to kind of handle. So much of it, like the trees, right? It depends on the individual person and what exactly you need out of the situation in order to grow best. Yeah.
Wow. And I think the hard part for me anyway, and I'm not kidding about the tree stuff because I have this all the time, but I think, oh, I can't cut that branch. I love
Mm.
that branch. It's a nice branch.
Hmm.
It might work,
Yeah.
but I think, but no, is it like a sacrifice? I'm sacrificing this weaker branch for the potentiality
Hmm.
of more success with the another branch, or maybe like you say at the joint, so it goes this way, so it
Yeah.
doesn't go way out that way and lean down and make the tree fall over or something.
Yeah.
So is it
Yeah.
the
So
sacrifice of something smaller for the greater good?
or it's the sacrifice of something that is taking too much resource, right? Like it's taking resource away from
Ah,
the larger tree,
uh,
or it's dead, right? Like there might be a dead part that you need to
yeah,
cut off because it's weighing down the kind of organic matter. So here's a great example, and I use this in my most recent book, the one that I was just on your
yeah,
podcast for the Kickstarter of
yeah,
Right
yeah.
in the Quit book. The guiding metaphor of that book is about this my search for an orchid plant that would do a second bloom. because if you've ever bought orchids in the store, you know that they come with these beautiful blooms, right? But most of the time the blooms last, 3 or 4 weeks maybe, and then they fall off, and then the plants are really hard to get them to bloom again.
Okay.
And there's a very variety of reasons why that is, but I've always been searching for like a way to get orchid plants to bloom a second time. The
Okay.
ones that you buy at like Trader Joe's, because you can find orchid plants that are better at growing, but they're
Okay.
generally
Okay.
not for, you know, consumption in the grocery store.
Right.
Like
Right.
grocery store
Orchids
orchids
can
are,
get really expensive, right?
yeah, yes. Oh, so expensive. But like grocery store orchids are sort of made to bloom for the
Uh,
customer when you buy them, right?
just once.
Just kind of
A-
once. Like
And
they're
then what do you do? Throw them out or?
no, I mean it depends on who you are. Some people throw them out.
Uh-huh.
Some people definitely throw them out. But there are some people who like try to continue to get them to grow. There are ways to get them to grow, but they're very finicky. Like orchids are very finicky, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
don't plant them in soil. You sort of plant them in like loose, rocky kind of. It's very finicky. But I had this orchid plant that had grown for I think 8 months. Like it had been gorgeous for a long time. I'm like, finally, I've got this orchid plant
Yeah.
that's going to grow. And then the flowers started to fall off, and I was like, oh, we ruined it. Like now. So now let's see if it's going to grow again. And it's very difficult to get them to do that. And so I was very disappointed as the flowers started to fall that I wasn't seeing new growth happen. And then it can be like years sometimes for to wait for the next growth. Yeah. And just as the last flower hung on for like 4 weeks, and it just was still there and still there and still there, like it's just being beautiful for me. I was so happy. And then finally I saw this little tiny shoot pop out. And then I left for 6 weeks, and my assistant was taking care of it. And when I came back, it had grown this new shoot out. And I was like, oh my gosh, we might finally get it. And then we had this big conversation about, but orchid plants are very delicate. And
Yeah.
so should we trim off this top part that no longer has and won't bear flowers again, right? Should we trim this part off? And we had a long conversation about it. And I was so worried. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And finally, we just decided, you know what? It's an experiment. We're just going to trim it off. And then I wish I could take you in there and show you because there's now 6 little bulbs
Mhm.
on the new growth. It was so exciting, but it was a big risk, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
taking that piece off of the flower because it is such a delicate plant
Yeah.
was such a big risk. And we did a lot of researching, and meanwhile we're caring for it just like you'd care for it if you were trying to grow it. And
Yeah.
but it's like every single plant has a slightly different care structure, and on some level, even when things appear to be going as they should, there might be too dry of an atmosphere, too wet of an atmosphere, or the temperature fluctuates too much, or it gets too much sun, and then you have to kind of adjust how you grow the plants. And
Yeah.
every single human being is like this
Yeah.
in terms of like, I don't think we think enough about the fact that we are in soil on some level, and we are growing and need feeding on some
Yeah.
level, which
And
kind of
pruning.
and pruning, and which kind of dovetails too into what you were telling me. Like you have a book that you're releasing, and you've been talking
Yeah.
about this content, right? And I was like, oh, that's exactly falls in with this organic concept of like we
Yeah.
can't draw from an empty well. Like we are
Yeah.
just a plant like the fig tree or like the orchid plant. We are also an organic matter that needs to be fed and needs to be
Yeah.
cared for.
Yeah.
And we often don't think of ourselves that way because we just like eat lunch and dinner and breakfast and go to sleep and don't look for the signs of like, oh, this branch is dead and it
Yeah.
might need to be pruned a little bit, or
Yeah.
hey, you need more water and you're clearly not getting enough positivity, right? Like you're not,
Yeah.
Bradley has high positivity, like you need a higher amount of positive energy and positive information in your life
Yeah.
than kind of
Yeah.
the average person does. And so if you don't get enough of that, you'll feel a little bit like unwatered, right?
Yeah.
And so
It-
knowing that about yourself is helping you to have good self-care strategies for when you maybe can't think about it or don't think about it.
You know, the past few days I felt this. I have not had the positive. I'm so glad you
Yeah.
say that because it helps me understand. That's what I've been missing the past few days. Been
Yeah.
very hermit the past few days,
Yeah.
and I have not much communication with humans.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this isn't good. Oh, this isn't
Yeah.
going well.
Yeah.
And I was so glad we have our call today because I'm like, oh, I'm talking with Becca on Wednesday morning. That'll bring out my
That'll
energy.
give me positivity. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And because you and I connect so well,
Yeah.
and that's a point. In fact, I wanted to make that to my son as well because we've been like hermiting together here. And soon I'll be flying back to Europe and he'll be here on his own. And like, hey, he and I are so different. But on the other hand, in my humble opinion, you need that human connection. You can't
Yep.
just hermit and not meet humans. And
Yep.
I know, especially us as writers, we think it's okay. We think it's okay to stay home and type stories all day,
Yeah.
and it kind of sort of is, but not really. Yeah,
Yeah. Everybody has some need for it, right? Like every human has some need for connection. Some
yeah,
have more and some have less, but everybody has some need. And I think a lot of us feel like, well, I have friends online or,
right.
et cetera. And we use that a lot as a
Yeah,
stand-in, the parasocial relationships as a stand-in for social relationships because it's so easy to walk away from my computer,
yeah,
right? Like when
yeah,
people are difficult or there's friction or they annoy me or I'm
yeah.
frustrated with them or whatever, I can just close my computer and then I don't have to
Right.
deal with that
They're
anymore.
gone.
Whereas like if they're in my physical space, I have to actually like converse with them and work through conflict
Yeah,
and kind of do
yeah,
that kind of thing, right? Or they don't give me what I need and then I get frustrated by that. And
yeah,
and I think we often default to easy parasocial relationships
yeah,
because and we don't realize how much we're missing
yeah.
of like things that we actually need. We don't just only have a need to be happy all the time.
Of
We
course, no.
actually have a need to resolve conflict and repair and to deal
Yeah,
with hard things. And we have a need to be encouraged and to encourage, to give and receive advice. Like we have all these different needs that when
yeah,
I'm only getting a few of them met, it's almost like with the fig tree, right? I'm growing the branch only in one direction, and eventually it's gonna crash out the tree,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
I won't have all these other things that I need. So, yeah, definitely get the social interaction, even
yeah,
when it's frustrating.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but we need it. We need those skills.
You know, I have another solution because when you first said, you said, you said fig tree. You said something that you said it sort of quickly. And I thought you might have said fake tree,
Oh, fig tree.
like a fake
Yeah.
Christmas tree, right? And so I thought, oh, well, there's the answer, right? It needs no pruning. It always looks fantastic. It never
Yeah.
changes, right? I mean, there you go. That's another
This is how
solution.
people
Just
end up in relationships with AI, Bradley. Like organic matter needs other organic matter in order to survive.
damn it. Damn it,
Yeah.
Becca. Come on, I thought I had it all solved right
We
there.
we thought that we'd solve the problem. No,
I
no, no,
know.
no. We
No
actually need
pruning.
friction. Like we need friction. And not just like good friction, right? Like, warming and gravity and things like that. But we need people to disagree with us, and we need people
Hmm.
to provide conflict. And because the goal of human experience is a holistic goal, growth, right? It is not
Okay.
the goal of human life is not only happiness. If it was, 100% of us would fail at it. The goal of human
Yeah.
life is to have a full human experience, which means we have a full range of emotions, which includes all of the negative and positive emotions. And we
Right.
have a full human experience, which means we experience loss and we experience difficulty and we experience despair and we experience elation. And it's like the goal is the full range. It's
Yeah.
not just to
Yeah.
have one branch that goes off and eventually makes the tree fall over, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not even gonna go there, but I could think of like my young nieces and social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
That because I think totally
Yep.
projecting here, but the goal is like to have the perfect life all the time and
Right.
make $1 million in a weekend and have photos
No,
by the
because
pool.
then if you look at the people who have that life, the things that you don't see about them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is that they are not happy all the time.
yeah,
They are
yeah,
constantly the people who live those lives that you
yeah,
see on Instagram or on TikTok, right? You see people living those lives and you think that that's their whole life, but that's only what they show you. What they don't
yeah,
show you is how hard it is and
yeah,
how painful it is and how many people hate them and how much
yeah,
difficulty they have to deal with. And yes, they have some privileges and some assets because they have money, but money is not the only thing that makes life easy. There are a lot of other things that make life
yeah,
good and make life easy. And having too much notoriety or too much fame or too much
yeah,
ease actually is dangerous for us. It
yeah.
makes us not be fully human anymore.
I think that goes along with my fake tree solution,
Hmm.
right? Like, no, everything's fine. It's perfect. What are you talking
Yeah,
about? I don't need
it's
pruning, don't
fine.
need water, don't need sunlight. It's all good.
Yep.
Everything's great. See, it's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, try it and see how it works out for you. You know what I mean? Like if that's what you want to do, but you're going to end up in 4 or 5 years. And so that this is like it's the cumulative effect. And again, this is why I use energy pennies as a metaphor to talk about these things, right?
Yeah,
Is that we understand the cumulative effect of a bank account. When I retire, I need to
yeah,
have a bank account that has a certain amount of money in it for me because I'm going to stop feeding it eventually, and then I need it to be able to yield, right?
yeah,
So I understand instinctively because we've been taught about 401ks and retirement and things, but we
yeah,
don't automatically understand that, like energetically and organically, we also have bank accounts that when we don't feed them, we can't draw from them. And if I don't have a bank account that has resilience pennies in it, because I have not made myself with resilient skills, then when hard things happen, I have a zero balance there. If I'm
yeah,
always just
yeah,
only ever able to do positive things and happy and making myself more famous and making more money, and then all of a sudden people hate me and I don't like that, then I don't have any capacity in that area. And I haven't been working to maintain this like balance of capacity or even just balance of energy, right? Like
yeah,
a balance of creative energy means that I'm not just drawing from the bank at all times. I'm also filling the bank with
yeah, yeah,
creativity.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
also filling the bank with inspiration and information, not just drawing from it, because it
yeah,
will eventually run out. And I use it as a metaphor because we instinctively get that money needs to be cared for, that money needs to be managed, but we don't often think of our energy resources as something that needs to be managed until it's too late for us
mm,
to manage it.
yeah, yeah,
Like when the tree is dying because it's got
yeah,
an arm that's way too long and it doesn't have any other sides to balance it anymore,
yeah,
then it becomes 911 and we burn out.
yeah,
But we are not doing a good job of sort of managing the balance of our energy in the
yeah.
meantime. Yeah.
Okay, you just said for me the word balance.
Yeah.
And we initially talked about, before we hit record, we were talking about our word of the year.
Hmm.
And I can't believe you didn't, this is so coincidental, but you and I don't have coincidences, I don't think.
Nope.
Uh, so this is my entire big plan for early 2026. It's called the Year of You,
Hmm.
and the focus is because what's the action? Okay, Bradley, that sounds great. Year of me, great, whatever. But the idea is really a one word, a word for the year. And I have this entire program around it. I'm not going to get into it, but I also have a word for me, and then I have a program to help you find your word. So I want to hear your word. But
Yeah.
you were talking about balance. So my word it's a made up word, and it's mathemagician, right? So
Oh,
not mathematician, right? That would
yeah.
be all math, but this is mathemagician.
Oh, I like
And so
that.
it's the balance of math and magic,
Hmm.
or structure and spirit, right?
Hmm.
Or like power and process.
Hmm.
Different, you can look at it in so many different ways, the different types of the brain. And
Hmm.
so for me, it's finding that balance because it's not, we were talking about spirituality a little bit earlier. And I'm in so many different, I've been on 10-day silent meditation retreats, right? I've been in 5-day massive 4 in the morning meditation workshops and stuff, and I love it. But that is like, whoa. And I like that. I started as a mathematics major in college,
Oh,
right?
wow. Oh,
And
wow.
so, which here's a perfect story, which I totally just chucked out the window when I could move to France, and then which I did, and then I came back and I had tons of French credits. So they're like, "Well, you can just have a French major." I'm like, "Okay." That was it. That was my entire like career thought right there. I'm like, "Okay, that's good. I can go to Europe with
I
that.
love
Okay, good. I'll do that. Thanks. Bye." So the balance there, that's where mathematician comes in. So that's my word for 2026.
I
And
love
my
that.
my program here is to help you, dear listener, viewer, come up with your word. I have a whole program to help you do that. But when you said balance, for me, it's that because it's not all because
Mm.
we talked about Chronos and Kairos time.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like Chronos time for me is very math. It's like do the work, put in the hours, and
Yeah.
Kairos is a little bit like the
Spirit.
unexpected, the magical stuff. The
Hmm.
I couldn't have planned that, or oh look,
Yeah.
I won the lottery, or here's I work real hard. Oh, I got a bonus.
Mm.
So it comes more easily, or you can lose it more easily too. It's like oh, I lost the
Hmm.
lottery. Anyway, so there's and then um, that's my word of the year, and
I like
I'll
that.
share more about this year of you. I can share a link and stuff, but I know we don't have too much time left, and I want to hear your word and how you came to it and what it means for you and what's your sort of plan for it for the year.
Yeah, my word of the year is rhythm.
Ooh,
And yeah,
I
I
love it.
I got there because so this is my sort of surrendering to the process of like I think I have been trying to be wired in a certain way, which is funny as the person who is like known for being a personality expert, right? Um, but
It's actually
I
really funny.
really have been, yeah, it's so ironic, right? I really have been trying to make myself into this thing that is so like driven and so, because I see that there's a lot of work that could be done, and a lot of ideas that are out there and a lot of things people need and what have you. But I lose this sense of who am I in the process and what's the best for me? Like how do I best care for my fig tree, right?
Okay,
And
back to
and
oxygen mask.
yep, it's the oxygen
That's for
mask.
you
Perfect.
because
Mm-hmm.
you help a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
but you
Yep.
need to have your oxygen mask so you can help the other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And really also so that I because some of it is definitely about sustainability, right? So that I can be a sustainable member of the author community and etc. And also I think because the writing and helping and authoring and all that is not all of my life. So, like, there are other parts of my life that are very important to me that seem to always just take the back seat because I have these
Mm,
things that like my drive is so strong, right? And then I ignore these parts of myself that need to be like, here's just a for instance, right? The expectation of like, um, that I will write so many books a year, right? Like I have
yeah,
all these books that I want to write. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to write all these books a year. And in order to do that, I have to be at the manuscript every single day. And I have to be extremely like all the time, always driven. And then I travel and I'm always working. And then when I come home, it's like I just pick right back up and work again. And I don't really listen to the kind of natural rhythm that my body kind of cries out for, which is like I don't actually like working this much. And I don't
yeah,
need to work this much from
yeah.
like a base core human organic need. And so my hope in having like more rhythm is I both want to return to the idea whenever I can, sort of like the metronome of the year,
Yeah,
of like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
let's return to this. But then I'm going to give myself the freedom to not execute if I don't feel like it. And do maybe a month like I'm doing in December where I do the manuscript first every day or try to. And then maybe January is maybe we don't care so much about the manuscript this month because the most important thing in the world is not getting the manuscript written. The most
Yeah.
important thing in the world is the experience of being human on this planet at this time and being present to the world and being part of the world, right? Like having a human experience. So not everything is only about one thing. I need more because it's not for me, it's not a balance thing because I actually like personally I don't do balance very well, but I will let myself have that regular rhythm of like, okay, have I rested? Like, am I letting myself take time off? Am I consistently returning when I need to? Am I just kind of creating this regular balance and then letting things happen however they're going to happen?
You know,
Yeah.
d- it was not lost upon me
Yeah.
when your orchid grew the sprouts, and that was
Yep.
when you left it for 6 weeks.
Yep. Yep. I
Phew.
left it and I was not attending to it, right? Like I mean we were
Yeah.
still watering it, but
Uh-huh.
actually I found that if we don't water it very regularly, like usually we water it every Wednesday. So like today's Wednesday, we would put three little ice cubes in the little tray for the orchid. And I actually because my assistant was gone one week and then I was gone the next week. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go for 2 weeks and see what happens. And that was
Yeah.
actually the week that the sprout came out, was when I wasn't being quite so like obsessively
Yeah.
consistent about it.
Yeah.
And so what I learned is like I can kind of tell now when it starts to get like dry. If we water it every Wednesday, that's great. But also like when it starts to get too bad, then we put some ice cubes in it. Or if it's a Thursday instead of a Wednesday, then we put ice cubes in on Thursday. And it just we're not so meticulous about sticking to an expectation
Yeah.
and are being a tiny bit more organic. And I mean it has yielded. And so I'm really happy that that I have that very visceral picture of it
Yeah.
because it helps me to be a little bit easier about not trying to be so vigilant. I think we have this idea that if we can plan everything and maximize everything perfectly and be as busy as possible and fill everything in and do as much as we can, that that's going to make us happy.
Yeah.
And actually, like I'm number two connectedness in the Clifton Strengths. What makes me the happiest in the world is being with people that I care about
Yeah. Me too.
and like having real deep connected
Yeah.
relationships with people that I care about
Yeah.
and being in nature. So like
Oh,
looking at the sunrise, being in the mountains, like being next to a river, like those kinds of things just make life worth living for me, right?
yeah. Having
Work
this
doesn't,
call.
yep, this call, like
Yeah.
this connection, right?
Yeah.
Us meeting of
This is
minds
fun.
and learning things. Yeah. Like those are the things that give me energy pennies. And
Yeah.
if I'm
Yeah.
not being vigilant about like, what is it that actually, what am I really here for? How do I not get so caught up in the system that surrounds me that's really trying to drain me like a battery? Like,
Yeah.
how do I not get caught up in that and instead take like the disconnection from that expectation and just let myself have the rhythm of being with my people and having good relationships and having good experiences and eating good food and moving my body and like doing things in sort of more have I done this lately rather than
Yeah.
being so hyper vigilant about doing it right and getting the most out of life. It's like
Yeah.
be more organic, like listen more to what you really need, be more conscious of who you are and what kind of plant you are and what you really need out of life, and be less conscious of what should be happening.
Yeah. Are you I am not, but are you musical at all? Do you play
Yes.
instrument? Oh,
Yep.
you are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah. I mean, I played the
envious.
piano for 44 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
one of those things, like I don't like to use the word regret, so I think, okay, well, I can still learn, or I can
Yeah. You could still
I
learn.
thought about like next year when we moved to Italy, I thought, what's a fun thing I want to do? And so either learn an instrument or go to singing lessons or something, right?
Yeah. Well,
Something
you have
musical.
a timbre. You should do singing lessons.
Okay.
Unless a musical instrument speaks to you, like
No,
really
no, they
speaks
scare
to
me.
you. Yeah, but you have a timbre. Like, so
Okay.
you already know how to modulate your voice better than kind of, I
Ah,
would say, like the average person. It's probably a speaking thing or a
right, right.
communication thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should definitely take singing lessons.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I ask as your word of rhythm, and
yeah,
I'm super visual, right? I like when you're talking, I see things. I see
yep.
plants and I see the sprout and I see the so when you said rhythm, my first thought so mathematical guy is I see like an X and Y axis and I
Mm.
see like a sine curve or
Hmm.
curves, right? So here is like chronos and some kairos. But if you're musical like you are, then because I'm thinking of your rhythm and I think, okay, well
Like a
now,
time signature.
yeah, and
Hmm.
you're working hard and that's there's a lot of the orchestra going on and then it's
Yeah,
and January is maybe some more background soft music
yeah,
and again I can't see the musical waves as I can so much like the mathematical waves but
right.
I envision that it's this word rhythm is just do you see it as a more musical sense of the word rhythm or more or how do you see the word rhythm?
I would say more like the cadence of poetry, I guess, would be more
Oh,
how I see
neat.
it, right? Sort of like have you ever done scansion poetry before? Where
No.
you map out poetic beats in
Oh,
like
fun.
in oh yeah, this is on my like nerdy side where I'm
What you
like
call it? Something poetry? What?
scansion,
How do you spell that?
Scansion, scansion poetry or Scantion
Okay, okay,
scansion
right.
poetry. um where you do like the downbeat has a particular signal and then like light beats have a signal and
Oh,
grace sort of has a signal and things like that, right? And it'd be like or if you're speaking a lot of people who are taught to speak like at Toastmasters and stuff, they teach
yeah,
you how to have cadence
yeah,
in your
yeah,
speaking. But in poetry or in music, there's a beat to how things sound and the rhythm of the language or the rhythm of the cadence has a particular feel to it. So for me, I think of the rhythm of the year as being, not everything is a downbeat. Not everything has that much punch to it. Not
yeah,
everything
yeah.
is a release or like a grace. Not everything is an offbeat. And not everything, similar to how when we write, we don't want to just have all 5 word sentences.
Hmm.
Like the art of language is in variance and in almost an inconsistency. Yes, like patterns and rhythms and things like that are important, especially in poetry, but the beauty of life is in its variance, not in
Yeah,
its
yeah,
sameness, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so when
yeah.
I think of rhythm, I think of like the rhythm of growing trees. They look
Wow.
very dead sometimes when they're not aggressively
Yeah,
sprouting.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
like they're
yeah.
building something inside and
Yeah.
then it
Wow.
sprouts forth from the ground, right?
Oh, wow.
So I really think of rhythm as like there are times when it should be, or like my dad is a farmer. So like he works very, very hard for 4 months a year and then has 2 periods where he works pretty hard. And then he has
Okay.
a complete rest period in the winter where he does
Wow.
almost nothing.
We could all learn from
And
that one.
yeah, like it's amazing. Growing up with that basically
Yeah,
makes it easier for me to have that like fallow periods, right? The
yeah,
way that
yeah.
fields do. But yeah, I very much see it as a cadence
Okay.
rather than like a musical. Yeah.
Okay, speaking of cadence and speaking of
Yes.
time and Chronos time and Kairos time,
Yes.
The Chronos clock says that we have to go.
Yeah.
The Kairos clock says, and this is what I love about the whole Kairos idea, is that Becca and I here, I just feel like we have 87 more conversations.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that scares people, but for me that's exciting.
Yeah.
and we have this conversation today and it builds the energy and I have more energy and I can't wait to talk with you again. And I'm not
Yeah.
even going to pretend like I was going to joke and say like, well, we're done, Becca. We have nothing else to talk about. Bye.
Yeah.
But it's like the opposite. I'm like, oh my God, Becca and I need to talk again like
Yeah.
soon
Yeah.
because we have just so much more. And every time we talk, it's like this tree that is just going to keep growing and we can prune and
Yeah.
anyway, so it is not goodbye. It is, I will see you next time, Becca. Thank you
Yeah.
for this so much and have a great holiday.
Thank you.